Hi, I'm Steve Finn, and the question comes up often and more actually now around valuing and selling intellectual property. So I'll take you through how we see that here at Finn and how we see it in operation. So basically what we see come our way is intellectual property is either associated generally with a business that we might be selling or buying on behalf of a client, or the intellectual property might be standalone. So someone might own that intellectual property as it is and just want to sell that as it is separately. So that's the two ways that I guess it comes about. When it comes to valuing that intellectual property, it's so difficult. There's no real set formula for it. It really just comes down to the laws of buying and selling, which is it's worth what someone will pay for it in the open marketplace. So really what it comes down to then is it's the strategy behind finding who is the best buyer for that business, for that intellectual property, and then how do we get that message to them so that they can see that it's an opportunity for them to be able to then capitalise on. So the first question that we ask is who's the buyer? And I'd suggest you do the same. Just think to yourself, and ideally, who would benefit the most from actually buying this intellectual property? So that's the question you ask yourself. Who would benefit the most? Would it be an investor? Would it be a competitor? Would it be someone who's trying to enter this marketplace and they're not in here yet? Would it be someone who's overseas and wants to be able to come here? Or someone wants to get something and then from here and then take it overseas? So I think it's just worthwhile then brainstorming around that one. Who would benefit the most? Also then think of what intellectual property is out there that is similar. So do you have a similar competitor? So you've probably got something unique, but there's something similar where they have already commercialised their intellectual property. So you can look at what's happened there. Other things are to really dig deep into what makes your IP unique. So what is absolutely specifically unique about your intellectual property? And I guess the more unique it is, the more powerful it is and a stronger message that we can then use to take that to buyers. Things that buyers are going to look for is how is it protected? So how is that IP protected? Is it protected in Australia? Is it protected overseas as well? Etc, etc. And then what documentation and paperwork do you have around that total protection? So you can get some good advice from an IP lawyer, and we can certainly help connect you up with some good people that we work with there as well for some guidance on that. And the other part, I guess, that's really important in terms of working out the valuation is has the IP been proven to actually work? So does it work in a proven way? And then secondly, has it been commercialised yet? Even if it's only been partly commercialised and not fully exploited, but has it been commercialised where the intellectual property itself is actually generating revenue? So that's a key part to it. Has it just been created and it's all a good idea, or has it been created and now it's generating revenue? So I think that's obviously a key part to the valuation. When it comes to then getting that intellectual property sold and monetising it for yourself, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can actually sell the rights to the IP outright. So that's just a straight sale. So you just sell the full rights to that IP and you pass that entirely over to a new purchaser. But there's another way to do it too, and that's through a license. So what can happen there is you might maintain the ownership of the IP and you might license it to somebody to then exploit, and then they can commercialise it for you. And as an example, in a case like that, they might take that and then whatever revenue they generate from your intellectual property, they might pay you back, say, 20% or 5%, 1%, whatever the number might be that works for them and works for you in that commercial aspect. And sometimes that might be how it's set up. If they've got a strong, powerful company, you might let them do that. To de-risk a little bit for you, you might take an upfront fee also for that transaction to be able to commence. So you might say, look, I'll charge you $100,000 as a once-off and 15% of all income that gets generated from my intellectual property. So that's another option as opposed to what a straight sale is. So that's how we broadly would look at valuing and selling intellectual property in the marketplace.